We're talking about lead generation today. And what I've heard mostly is that leads are too expensive or that the sources that you get leads from are very unreliable. Some days it's a great price, some days it's really good leads, and other days it's absolutely horrible.
The reason why we're stuck is because we're not net profiting where we should be, right? And I realized that now this talking track is really helping me see that's my hurdle.
Like I said, I never thought of it from this way, and I had never put down the numbers like this, so it's great to see.
Welcome to Business Scaler Group. Again, we're going to go through intros, but today we're going to change it up a little bit. We're going to go through name, the business name, and then your best skill.
Name is Corey Pocket. I own a Batteries Plus, and my greatest skill set is that I am absolutely stubborn when it comes to getting stuff done.
Hello everyone, my name is Jorge Yanez. I'm the owner of Y Carpet and Flooring, and my best skill is going to be sales.
My name's Trent Crispin, and my wife and I own 3 Nails Handiwork. My best skill, I think, is developing relationships.
Name Steve Flores. Business name is Upfront Restoration. Our best skill, I think we do roofs very well.
All right. What about your best skill individually?
Oh, my personal best skill? I don't know, bro. Paintball.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
I don't know if that counts, but I won a tournament.
It counts. Oh, congrats. So we're talking about lead generation today. And what I've heard mostly when it comes to lead generation is that leads are too expensive, that you might be able to handle more leads, but you can't pay for more leads in that moment. You kind of need more leads to pay for the leads, but the leads are too expensive to get. So it's kind of like a point where you kind of get stuck super easily, or that the sources that you get leads from are very unreliable. Some days it's a great price, some days it's really good leads, and other days it's absolutely horrible. So that's what I'm hearing most of the time. All right, what do we do when we have this issue? We can convert more leads. So Jorge was talking about his conversion rates are really good. So that's something you can do, make leads a little bit, well, not leads, make them cheaper, but getting each customer to be cheaper. We can also get our customers to bring in more referrals, and we can increase gross profits. So there is an order in which you should do this. Anybody want to take a shot at which order we believe at least is best, or which one is easiest to go through?
I'm guessing the order you put them on the slide.
Kind of, but maybe
I'd say convert more leads, increase gross profits, and get more referrals.
Close. I actually have it, I think, pretty much backwards. But the first thing is actually increase gross profits, and we're gonna get into this. But first, this is kind of the order. So I think increasing gross profits is number one thing. Then we want more customer referrals with the extra money that we have from the gross profits, and then we focus on converting more. And we'll get into the math as to why, and that's the majority of this meeting is going to be looking at why this order, okay? But first, let's cover a couple of fundamentals, just some terms that I'm going to use all the time. Firstly is CAC, which is customer acquisition cost, which just means how much money does it cost you to get a client. And then gross profit, which is our revenue, minus cost of goods sold for you guys, cost of services sold, but that includes all the labor and all the materials. Doesn't include marketing or anything like that. So let's get into it. Why increase gross profits? Number one, it lets you spend more money to get customers. And if you can outspend your competitors, you're gonna win. If for one roofing job, for one flooring job, one patch job on a wall or whatever, if you can spend $8,000 on one lead and you convert them and you still profit on that job, no one's gonna compete with you. You will just take over the market. The one that can spend the most on each customer will win every single time. So that's why we go increase gross profits first, because this is what lets us spend big money on getting new clients in. So we need to have enough profits to cover 3 to 6 times our cost to acquire a customer. If we're under 2x, our business is not going to grow. We're going to get a client in, and we're not going to have enough money to get the next one. We'll just have enough money to cover that one. And if we're under 1, we don't even have enough money to cover it. So the goal is 3 to 6, but if you're under 2, you're not going to have enough money to get the next one. So that's why it feels impossible to spend money on marketing, because you're not bringing in money to actually pay for the next one. It's a model that only works if you have a ton of cash injections, you have a ton of capital behind your business. But if you don't, it's just not really going to work well. The key, like it says here, is we just want one customer to pay for the next one, for the next 2, for the next 3. The more the better, really. That's the goal of it, and that's why we increase gross profits first. So here's a limiting belief that I hear all the time, and I can assure you that it's wrong, because through our private practice clients, it has proven to not be true at all, anytime. We've done price increases all the time. We've done increases the profits all the time, and we make more money every time we do that. So what people think is that if you raise prices, you're going to get less customers, which means you're going to get less money. The whole thing is not true. If you raise prices, you will have less customers, but almost never you'll have less money. You will almost always make more. So let me explain how. Here's the thing. Somebody could have this type of business where they have 90% conversions at a 30% gross profit with $70 the cost of goods sold and $40 the cost to acquire a customer, right? So we're reaching here about, here's the thing with this example. We make profit on each client, right? We have a 30% gross profit margin. The problem is that it costs us $40 to get a client in, and it costs us $70 to service them. So while on paper, it looks like we're profitable, when we actually go through all the costs, we're not, right? So we have $270 of gross profits. Now let me see if I can annotate on here. No, it's not gonna let me. But we have our $270 of gross profits, but $360 of CAC, the cost to acquire those customers. So we end up losing $90, even though our conversion rate is amazing and we are technically profitable on the gross profit side. Net profit side, we're not. So what do? Let's raise the price. So let's say we go from a 30% gross profit to a 68% gross profit. And now we're making $660 of revenue with just 3 clients, but we have lower conversions, we have less revenue, but we make more profits. Why is that? Because we don't have to spend as much money to get a ton of clients, and we don't have to spend a lot of money servicing them. That's the biggest thing. The biggest difference between this example and this one, because we see that the cost to acquire customers is the same. We're spending $360 on both, but we make money on the second. So that's the key. We're profiting so much more, it doesn't matter. We make money. So that's what happened. Our conversion rate went down, our CAC went up, our revenue went down, but we still profited more. And that's what matters at the end of the day. What can we do when we have more money? We can make the service better, and that's gonna bring our customer referrals up. And we also have more resources now to improve conversions. Now we can pay a salesperson to come in. We have room to pay another salesperson to come in and do more. Or we can have a better salesperson come in, or you as the owner, if you're the best one at sales in your business, you have more time to spend with each customer. You're able to upsell them on more things. You're able to sell them more. So that's the huge thing about this, is more money is always going to be helpful to your business, especially more money per client. So how do we increase referrals? We're going to improve the service. That's the number one thing. And then we ask for referrals at either the point of sale or the point of high satisfaction. There's 2 moments. It depends for every person. Corey's gone, but I'm going to use him as an example. He's in retail, so the point to ask for referrals would be at the point of sale, most likely, because he's not there when they're using his products. But for example, with Steve, you're probably going to do that once they see the new roof and everything looks incredible, or once you've done a restoration project where everything was trashed and now they're able to live in their home again. Jorge, once the new floor is in and it looks amazing, that's the point. So that would be the point to ask for reviews and the point to ask for referrals. So how do we increase conversion rates though? Because this is something that once we have a good amount of profits, we still want to bring up conversions. Bringing up conversions is not bad. But if our conversions are high just because we're priced low, that is an issue. So we always want to bring up the price, artificially bring down conversions, and then do these things to bring up conversions a bit. So the number one thing is the second you get a lead in, you contact them in the first minute, especially if you're using a lead service where you got to call someone and they might be getting like 10 other calls. Be the first one. The first one will always win, and it needs to be within the first minute. Some ways to do this is 1, have a dedicated employee that can drop everything and just do that. 2, have a dedicated employee that only does that. Or you drop absolutely everything and just focus on that. That is the number one thing. Most businesses will see over a 3x improvement to conversions just by contacting in the first minute. So if you're going to do one thing on this screen, it's that. Another thing you can do is get more reviews and get better reviews. Easiest way to get more reviews, ask for it at the moment of high satisfaction, so same with referrals, and make it easy. Another thing, follow up better. Usually, this is once you've sent out an estimate, I would say do a follow-up either the night after or the morning after, and then follow up another 2 to 3 times until you close it. But follow-ups are a really easy way to just catch a few of the people that didn't convert right away. And then finally, you can improve your sales skills. Jorge, no need for that. You already are pretty good, and we talked a bit in the past about how good you are at sales, so that's no problem for you. But when you hire people, that's a way to improve conversions as well. It's just getting them to be better. All right, I want to show an example of what it looks like when we max out that example of adding quite a bit of gross profits to a thing. So let's say we have a 40% conversion rate, which this is about where we want to be with our clients. The way we see it is if you're over 50, 60%, you probably want to raise prices because you get to this point where you just make more money by doing it. Low conversions is not an issue if you're priced the highest in the market, the highest in the area that you're in. That's not an issue. If you're priced the lowest, then you do need high conversions. That's just how the math will work. If you want to be the cheapest person in your industry, no problem with that. But you need to make sure that you are getting them in really cheap. So converting them is pretty good. So 40% conversions with an 80% gross profit margin. Again, we have that $70 cost of goods sold, cost of services sold, with our $40 in customer acquisition cost. So we end up spending $160 to get 4 clients in. That brings us $1,400 of revenue, which is incredible, which gives us a gross profit of $1,120. So now our net profits, when we account our customer acquisition costs, because think about it, it doesn't matter how expensive a lead is. If we don't need to convert as many of them, we don't spend as much money on marketing. We don't spend as much money on getting leads in. So we only spend $160 to get 4 clients in, but we made a lot more money. And then our profits are $960. So we compare it to the first example where the math is actually pretty bad here. Some people would see this and say, hey, we're doing great conversions wise. And you are. But is it actually doing you any good to convert 90% of people and not profit enough to pay for that many people? Because we can't afford 9 customers on this. And the problem is this doesn't scale up. If we get 90 customers, this is looking just as bad. But instead of minus 90, it's minus 900 that we lose. So that's the thing, is conversions are okay if you can pay for the next customer. But with this, we can't pay for the next customer. Whereas with this maxed out one, we absolutely can. And I'll pull up a calculator really quick so I can do the math well, because today's just not a math day for me. So if we make 1120 divided by 4. So we make $280 worth of profit on each client here. And each client only costs us $40 to get. So that's perfect. We're profiting off each client, and we can actually pay for 7 clients. With 1 client, we pay for the next 7. Whereas in the first example, we don't pay for 1. We pay for just under 1. So let me just get this. Oh, yeah, we pay for 0.75 clients if we do it this way. So that's something really important. You need to see what is the gross profits of each client and how does that compare to your CAC. So the average gross profits and your average CAC. What does that look like? And we want it, again, to be 3 to 6 times. 3 to 6 times CAC is what your gross profits needs to be if you want your business to actually be scalable. If you're under 2, it will never be scalable. If you're at 2, it's rough. And depending on how much overhead you have, it might not be worthwhile. That's why we go for 3 to 6. It might sound a little excessive, but here's the thing. The higher that number is, the quicker you're going to be able to scale. I will say, before we get into the open discussion part, there is no advantage to being in the middle. The only advantage you get price-wise is when you're the cheapest or when you're the most expensive. When you're in the middle, you have to optimize for efficiency and you have to sell like you're the best one there. But you don't get the benefits of either. You don't get the easy leads that the cheapest guy in the industry gets, and you don't get the profits that the most expensive guy in the industry gets. Choose a side and go for one of the sides. If you're in the middle, it's a little tougher. Is this something that you guys have thought of, where conversions might not be the goal and it's more how much money can we make end of the day?
I can go ahead and say this does, like, having it in front of me does help visually see what I need to correct on my end, because, just with the explanation and the walkthrough, I feel like right now I'm currently in the middle, and I am at a stage now where my business does need to scale, right? And that's where I'm stuck. It's I need to scale, but I need to see how I can scale. And I just feel like seeing the numbers, it lets me know what I can correct pricing wise on my end. So that way I can pretty much plan for that next step, which would be making my life easier and having an actual showroom. And I just feel like with the numbers, I mean, my conversions are fantastic, but yeah, if the revenue's not there where I need it to be, then I'm not gonna scale. So seeing the breakdown of this, it gives me a better idea of how to better prepare myself for, because we don't want to be the cheapest.
Right.
That's the goal for us, is not to be the cheapest. Um, and we've gotten all 5-star reviews where our clients do see the value and they know that, hey, they may say ouch, but they're happy. They give us 5-star reviews. So that's really important to me.
Yep. And then what it does too, when you become the more expensive side, you have more money to make your service better. So you might be able to have an even better showroom than anybody else. You might be able to source them any flooring they want, and you might be able to pay crews way more. So now you have crews that are quicker, or they're more reliable, or they just do a better job overall. So it's a good position to be in.
Like I say, I never thought of it from this way, and I had never put down the numbers like this. So it's great to see.
Getting told no is not really an issue. And I'll give you guys an example. One of our clients on the private side, they had a 90% conversion rate, and they were already pretty profitable. We 4x their price. How much more money do you guys think they made in terms of net profits? By how much do you think it went up? We 4x the price.
I don't know. Based off these numbers, I feel like my guess might be wrong. If you did 4x, you probably went up by like 8 or 10 times.
Yep, 10 times. 10
10?
times more profits. It's crazy. The power it does is insane. And they already had a really low cost to acquire a customer. So does anybody want to give a guess to how many? I'll give you before the change because it puts it into perspective. So before the change, every customer paid for the next 5. So they were already at a good spot. But then after we increased price, guess what it went to?
5, you said 4. So one customer paid for the next 12.
It went to 30. It went to 30 because we were able to. So it's a really important fundamental piece of math. And the issue a lot of the time is not that you're lacking leads. It's not that leads are expensive. It's that you're just not getting enough out of the leads. The leads are just worthless. If you ask me what a good gross profit margin is for most contracting businesses, most people will tell you 50% is good. I disagree. I think 70 to 80% is good. And that puts you at a really high price. It almost always is going to put you as the highest, but there's no issue with being the highest as long as you're good. Any thoughts on it? Any questions or any examples of you were the first example at some point and now you're not going to be that first example?
I was just going to mention, I think we're probably the youngest company. And so our conversions are good. I've been trying to think where we are as far as our pricing. What I feel like is right now is we just don't have those leads.
Mm-hmm.
The people that we work with, we are getting some referrals, but it's all is that just, so I guess what do you do in that circumstance? Is it just because we're young and how do we figure out how to get more leads? Do we need to put money into marketing?
It depends. It depends. So the number one thing before you put money into marketing is have this model figured out. So look at how much money can we actually spend on getting a client and how much money do we need to bring back. So the key is maximize how much you profit off each client. I would say if you're at about 80% gross profits, and honestly with you doing handyman work, you can probably get up into the 90s pretty easily. At that point, you can start putting money into marketing.
I do want to jump in real quick and say, yeah, we're a young flooring business as well. It's just that our conversion has been really well and we're not the cheapest, right? I made sure we're not the cheapest.
Good.
But the reason why we're stuck is because we're not net profiting where we should be, right? And I realized that now because we're all referrals. I've tested out Angie's List. I've tested out different lead platforms, and they're not reliable, right? So I have wasted a lot of money, and it feels like I've wasted a lot of money because I'm basically, where I see my business is we're priced in the middle, where if we get 3 leads and 2 of them, one is for a handyman, another one's for a painter, if they charge me for that, I feel like that's a big hit on my end. That's a big expense on my end. But if my profits were a little bit more better, hey, I missed out on 2 leads, but that one lead that I converted, I can make up for more. So that's where I'm seeing this is actually really helping me in my business because we're a young business as well. But it's helping me foresee what I want to do for the next stage, because it's like I'm doing a lot of networking, and we're solely, I'd say, 85 to 90% referral based. So being priced in the middle has gotten me this far, but I don't see it sustainable. That's where I feel like this talking track is really helping me see that's my hurdle pretty much, is just making sure I'm net profiting, because right now my net profit is like gross profit is like 35 to 40%.
Yeah.
So just testing out the waters with maybe a 70%, it puts me into the price point with the bigger dogs, so to speak. But that, I don't think that should be a problem if maybe I can have more net profit, then maybe I can make my life easier for my business to run smoother. Because right now I have a bunch of clients that I've been referred to, but I'm driving around crazy without a showroom showing samples. So that's an expense as well that I would eliminate, things like that. So that's an example. But yeah, I think it's definitely important to really like crunch the numbers and go from there, because I think that's what I need to reevaluate in my business.
Actually, one thing I found, and it may or may not be helpful to others, but communication, setting expectations has been a big one. So I might be able to bill for X, but if I don't set that proper communication with the customer and my guys don't know to take the proper pictures, then I just lost all the revenue associated with X. So for me, a big part of increasing gross revenue has been trying to figure out when is the best time to communicate, and how is the best time to communicate that, and what is the best type of photograph or documentation I need in order to get paid on it. So those may not be challenges that Jorge and Trent face, but if you're saying this is recorded, maybe somebody on this recording hears that and maybe that helps them at some point.
Yeah, that's a good one. Setting expectations. Actually, that's something we talked about yesterday in the other groups meeting. And if you can set really good expectations, it kind of doesn't matter how good you are. Because if I cook a meal for you and I tell you I am the worst cook in the world, if I cook something decent, you're going to be happy. Whereas if I tell you, hey, I'm the best cook in the world, and I cook something decent, that's the same quality as before, you're going to be upset because you're expecting best cook in the world. So if you can manage expectations really well, you can improve the service without needing to improve the service much.